Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Cameron and I just wrapped up my second to last semester here at the University of Florida. So I am a senior finance major and I have made several other videos like this in the past. Every semester I like to go over the classes that I took, my experience in those classes, and how I ended up performing grade-wise. Not only is this a good exercise for me to reflect on the last 5 or so months being in that class, but I've also found it to be extremely helpful for other students at the University of Florida, prospective students, when they're going through trying to figure out what classes they want to take in the future, or if they just want to get a glimpse at kind of what a realistic schedule is at UF. So now that I am in my senior year, I am in pretty much all the upper level finance courses. This means my classes can be somewhat challenging, but at the same time, I then have other classes that can be pretty easy because they're just electives and I've already checked off all of the gen eds. That was definitely the case for this last semester. This semester I took a total of 14 credits. That evened out to 4 total classes. And as you can tell probably by the thumbnail or the title of this video, this is actually the worst semester I've had GPA-wise in the last 3.5 years. Now, as you might be able to tell, I'm not too upset about that. You'll soon learn the GPA wasn't too bad. And ultimately, I was able to accomplish so much more and things that realistically in the long run are so much more important to my life and to my career than one of my random semester GPAs. But it's always good to throw in some clickbait in there for you guys, and it'll just be kind of entertaining to look back on in a few years. But with this being said, let's go into the 4 classes that I took and how I did. So the first class is Financial Accounting and Reporting 2. This is the highest level of accounting that us finance majors at the University of Florida have to take. It's pretty upsetting for myself just because I am actually the first class of graduating finance majors that is required to take FAR 1 and FAR 2. So definitely gave me a lot more exposure to accounting than previous finance majors at UF, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's bad because they're extremely challenging classes and they really make your life pretty tough. But it's a good thing because, like I said, it then gives you so much more exposure to accounting that other finance students from other schools might not necessarily have. I think this definitely gave me a leg up in my internship this last summer, and then also while applying for full-time jobs this fall. I had a lot more knowledge and experience working with accounting principles, so during technical aspects of interviews, I was able to walk through some of the problems a little bit more logically, just because I had more of an advanced understanding of the accounting principles, not just the random financial terms. So cutting to the chase, in FAR 2, I got a B+. This was pretty upsetting just because I kind of was right on that border between an A- and an A the entire semester. Unfortunately, I didn't perform as well on the 3rd exam as I was hoping to, but realistically, I can't complain. I think the class average for most of the exams was a 68, so definitely outperformed that. But still, a B+ is the lowest grade I've gotten since my freshman fall, so that was pretty upsetting to me. But at the same time, like I said before, I had so many other great things happen to me this semester, and I certainly prioritized applying for jobs and kind of my involvement on campus a little bit more than my grades. And I can't complain with a B+ whatsoever. Like I said, the class average is much lower than that. So although it's not an A like I've gotten in other semesters, it's still something that I can be proud of. And I know that when I look back in the grand scheme of things, I will not be disappointed in myself whatsoever. The class is extremely challenging and builds off a lot of the fundamentals of accounting that you learn in financial back sophomore year, and then also Financial Accounting and Reporting 1 that I took last spring. So now that I finished this class, I am very grateful that I'm done with accounting for my undergraduate degree. FAR 2 is definitely the hardest class I've taken so far at University of Florida, and that includes some of those really scary classes like business finance that you might hear some horror stories about from other students at UF. For this class, I had Professor Monk, and really I have nothing bad to say about Professor Monk. I'm extremely grateful that I had him as my professor compared to some of the other professors that have taught the class in the past. I thought he always did a really great job of breaking things down in ways that you can understand, and he also implemented a good amount of real-life situations and scenarios into his lectures so you can kind of understand what he was teaching you on a more conceptual level and how it might apply to your own future career moving forward. And you can just tell through his lectures that he's a nice guy and he just wants what's best for his students. So that was the first class that I took, and I got a B+ in. That was Financial Accounting and Reporting 2, FAR 2. So the second class on my schedule from fall 2021 was another finance core class, and it was equity and capital markets. This class was extremely interesting, and honestly, a lot of the information I had already learned, whether through previous classes like business finance or even financial accounting, or just through my own personal interests on YouTube, or just financial and market news that I've read and consumed over the last few years. But nonetheless, like I said, it was very interesting and directly applicable to what I wanted to do with my career. Compared to some of the classes where you feel like what you're learning will just never come up again in your life, this class I could directly see how it correlated with what I wanted to do and just what my interests were in general. So the class is equity and capital markets, so it talks a lot about investments and valuating companies. It is more technical, pretty quantitative. It's not all about conceptuals, but the professor I had still made sure that the students understood every topic on a conceptual level first before going into the technicals. The professor I had for this class was Nitish Kumar, and I thought, again, he was a very good professor. I think there was one other professor teaching this course at the same time, but honestly, I didn't really hear too much about them. And just from doing my own research about the two professors going into the semester, I felt that Nitish Kumar kind of had better credentials and better reviews on Rate My Professor, so that's why I ended up going with him. I found the class extremely helpful. I was going through a lot of investment banking interviews, super days, while taking this class. So it was kind of nice to get some refreshers on, some of the valuation methods, DCF, things like that through this class, just because that obviously was coming up quite a bit in some of those interviews. There were just 2 exams in this course, which then is kind of what made it hard to get a really good grade. I ended up getting an A- in this class. I think I missed an A by about 2 points total. It was challenging to get an A because an A was a 94%, and I think I ended up with a 93. So definitely pretty upsetting to consider the fact that I got a 93 and it was an A-, but can't complain too much. It wasn't a class that required too much effort out of you, but I definitely still made sure to come to class every day, apply myself. But at the end of the day, I just got kind of unlucky on that last exam, which ultimately made it pretty tough to get a 94% overall. But like I said, this is one of those classes that every finance major has to take, and it was definitely really interesting, again, just because it was so directly correlated with what we want to do with our careers, what our interests are. There was actually a project at the end of the semester in this class that required you to evaluate a company. So my group, we decided to do Lululemon, and that was definitely a really interesting project. I was responsible for the DCF model, and so it was kind of just interesting to apply some of what I've learned throughout the semester and throughout the last few years of just being a nerd in finance into a class project. So that was the second class that I took that I got an A- in, and that was equity and capital markets. The third class I took was one that was part of my leadership minor, and it was called Interpersonal Leadership. This was a fully online class, but it was extremely enjoyable. It required me to take a lot of personality tests and also just learn a lot about kind of myself, but then also how that applies to leadership as a whole. Of course, right now I'm blanking on the name of my professor for this class, but I felt that she did a phenomenal job. I'm sure it'll be on the screen right now. It was clear throughout all the modules that she was very enthusiastic about the topics. And again, you just felt that she wanted what was best for her students. This class, although it was one of my easier classes this semester, I still made sure to put forth a lot of effort and to try to go above and beyond on some of the assignments. And it was nice because a lot of the times I would get some feedback from the professor and the TA, kind of just telling me that, they felt that I did a good job. So it was nice to kind of get that recognition from them. I really have enjoyed doing the leadership minor through UF. Not only have the classes been, pretty easy to help offset some of those really tough technical classes like accounting, but at the same time, I've really learned a lot about myself and about just how to be a good leader moving forward. So I did end up getting an A in this class, which was not really too much of a surprise. I really did enjoy this class. It really only required about 1 or 2 hours out of me each week. And it was just overall really nice to have this class in combination with those 2 other pretty challenging finance courses. So that was the third class I took, and that was Interpersonal Leadership. The fourth class I took was simply just an elective that I thought would be interesting, and it was called Intro to Personal Family Financial Planning. I had a friend take this course a few semesters back, and I was always just looking over his shoulder when he was working on, homework and assignments, and I thought it was pretty interesting just because it was talking about credit scores and investments and things that I already knew a lot about. So because of that, I felt, why not take this course? It'll be a good elective, then maybe it might teach me a thing or two also. And while a lot of the information in this class was pretty surface level, talking about what a Roth IRA was, how to find your credit score and things like that, I still did learn a lot along the way. The thing I liked the most about this course is that it actually required you to create a budget for yourself for specific months. and it made you track your income and expenses each month. I found this pretty rewarding just because this is something that I never necessarily did. I might track my income and some of my expenses, but I never would go into as much detail as this class required. So going through these exercises, it definitely made me more aware of kind of my financial situation. And at the same time, it made me grateful to be in the position that I'm in. And again, kind of like that leadership class, it didn't require too much out of me, but I still made sure that the assignments that I did have, I put forth a lot of effort and showed the professor and the TAs that I cared. Fortunately, I'm pretty proficient in Excel, and I think that came through in some of those assignments. I probably went above and beyond on some of the formatting for those assignments, but that was just a way for me to make the projects a little bit more entertaining for myself. And again, I definitely recommend this class for anyone who's looking for an easy class at UF. Like I said, it didn't really require too much effort out of me on a week-to-week basis. It was pretty easy to work ahead, and again, the grading was pretty easy. So I did ultimately get an A in this class as well. So that was my fourth and final class that I took, and that was Intro to Personal Family Financial Planning. So those were the 4 classes that I took in total: FAR 2, Equity and Capital Markets, Interpersonal Leadership, and Personal Family Financial Planning. So between those 4 classes, I got 1 B+, 1 A-, and 2 A's. In total, that made my GPA for this semester a 3.71. As I mentioned earlier, that is the worst GPA I've gotten on a semester since my freshman fall. As a lot of you might know, my freshman fall, I kind of struggled with that transition to college. I ended up with a 3.3, and I've kind of been coming back from that ever since. I got a 3.93 my freshman spring with a random A- in a tough public speaking course, and I got 4.0s in the next 5 semesters since then. That definitely is what has allowed me to be in the situation that I'm in now, where having a 3.7 GPA ultimately didn't affect me too much. My GPA going into the semester was, I believe, a 3.88, and after the semester it dropped to a 3.86. So not a drastic drop whatsoever. And again, that's why I'm not making this too much of a big deal. I got my dream job. I've done everything that I wanted to do on campus here at UF. I've accomplished all of my goals. So overall, I can't be upset with myself whatsoever. I've certainly worked my butt off to get to this point, and it's my senior year. Now it is my senior spring. I am definitely allowing myself to enjoy that and make the most of these next few months that I have. But for full transparency, I wanted to give you the 4 classes that I took this last semester, just in case you were thinking of taking them yourself, or maybe you've already taken them and you want to hear someone else's experience, but this was mine. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me on Instagram right here at Galbraith, and definitely subscribe and stay tuned for more videos just like this coming in the near future. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.